All right, welcome everybody to Back to School Night. My name is Mr. Pieroni. Not only am I a 7th grade math teacher here at Northview, but I am also the math department chair. This is my 4th year here at Northview Middle School, and I couldn't be more excited. Even though things are a little bit strange right now with virtual learning and everything that's going on outside of our school, it is a great opportunity for us to build that community that we all need. Now, before we get into a little bit about our classroom this year, I have been a teacher for 12 years. I started teaching 4th grade and I've taught everything through high school seniors. So I've seen it all, I've been there, and I understand what these students are going through. So let's get into a little bit about what our expectations are for this year, how our grades will be made up, where we can access a lot of our different pieces to our daily classes, IXL, and lastly, how you can get a hold of me at any time. If we take a look, my students will hear me say this every single day. Mistakes are the most important part of our class. If we're not making mistakes, that means we're not reaching the ceiling of our knowledge. So mistakes will be made every day. I also want every student to realize they are never, ever alone in this learning process. We are surrounded by a lot of great students who can not only help themselves, but help each other. Also, they have a lot of great teachers here on Team Ball State. Not only am I the math teacher, but I can also be their biggest advocate. The biggest thing that we need to focus on in my classroom is respect. Respect for yourself, respect for others, and respect for our learning environment. Now, that respect for ourselves starts from within. If we can respect ourselves, we can exude that respect towards others that we want everybody to give us. So that's where it all starts, right here. Always have something to write on and something to write with. I would highly suggest each student get their own notebook for home. When we come into school, we're also going to need a notebook that we're going to leave in our math classroom. But we'll get to more of that as we work through our video. For first semester, we are building that foundation of how numbers work together. So, unless I tell your student differently, there are no calculators for first semester. We are piecing together how we work through longer problems with orders of operation. So we need to understand how to multiply, divide, add, and subtract. We're going to be building those foundational pieces that will allow us to work through more difficult problems in the second semester. But we have to understand how those pieces build to make one larger math environment. In our gradebook, you will notice there are 2 categories, summative and formative. Now, let me make these a lot simpler. Summative are basically all the assessments that your student will take to see where they're at in our math process. Formative is basically just all the practice. So, most of these are pretty explanatory, but IXL will fall into both of these. When we do IXL in class time, it more than likely will go into the summative category because it will be covering something that we've learned, and the students will be showing me where their level of knowledge is at that point. Anything that we do outside of our class time will go into that formative or that practice column. Each week, we're going to have a lot of different opportunities to practice all of the lessons and all the topics that we're learning. Down here, and this is the most important part of our math grade book, our grades are based on what we can show we can do. Luckily, with all of our lessons being posted to Canvas, made by yours truly, your student will be able to go back and re-watch any part of any lesson through my personal YouTube page. If they're confused, this YouTube page will help them relearn. They can pause and they can rewind until they understand it. I also have daily office hours. So after each 60-minute class period, we have a 20-minute section of class where we're still on our Zoom classroom and students have more of that one-on-one and small group opportunity to get any questions that they have fixed up. Lastly, when we come back to being in person, Each student will need two things from my classroom: a spiral notebook that they will leave in my class each day, and clear tape. It could be Scotch tape, it can be any kind of clear tape, but we're going to be making our own textbooks for this class. Now that we're online, things are a little bit different. So everything that we do will remain on my YouTube page. Students can go back to our Canvas homepage and see the progression of every single lesson. This will allow us to reteach and relearn as many times as it takes for us to be able to show that we are proficient in different topics. IXL, this will be the biggest chunk of how we do our virtual classroom, both practices and some assessments. The main piece that we need to understand for IXL is that our goal for a SMART score on every single module is a score of 85. If we can get to that SMART score of 85, we earn a 10 out of 10, and that's a 100% in the gradebook. Luckily, there's also opportunities to earn some extra credit. This will be the only opportunities for extra credit that we have, but each week there are 4 to 5 opportunities, and here's what I mean by that. For each IXL module, if your student gets to a score of 90, they will earn 1 extra credit point, giving them an 11 out of 10. If they get the SMART score all the way up to 100 and they persevere through that challenge section, they will receive a 12 out of 10. Now, I always explain to the students, when we have some of these simpler topics, your goal should try to be to get to 100. Because as we progress through the semester, we're gonna have some more difficult areas. But again, we're gonna be able to reteach, we're gonna be able to do small group and individual learning, and you will always be able to reach out to me for questions. Lastly, my contact information. My email is above. This is my personal cell phone number. And as I've noted, texting me is best. There are a lot of meetings and I'm always online with my Zoom classes and Zoom office hours. I'm also held to help other teachers in the school build those classrooms, and we do a lot of collaborative work. So during the day, I'm not really able to answer my phone. But if you shoot me a text message, I will get back to you at my earliest convenience. If you have a question, if you have to get a score in for your student for IXL, feel free to reach out through text. I can also be reached through my Canvas message board. On Canvas, underneath your student's class for math, they can send me a message, it comes straight to my phone through my email, and I can respond immediately. Thank you so much for helping us out in these weird times, but I promise